What is going on, folks? This is Acid Wired. So this is episode 13 of the Devil May Cry walkthrough as far as that pitch can goes along with it. So in the last episode I was kind of talking about rage quitting as far as that pitch can have. Not like I was going to do that, but just the concept. I estimate that this game probably at some stage might trigger me within the sense. I question what's going to be happening later on. I do remember like when I first started this game kind of choosing like the normal difficulty, but I do think the difficulty might ramp up. But hopefully I do want to get more episodes of this because I am having fun with this particular game. I do like the aesthetic of it and some of those type pitches. Dante is pretty awesome as far as those pitches kind of happen, but I just question how things are going to go along in later stages because I realize that I want to say there's about 25 missions. I'm only on like mission 8 or something like that, so not even halfway done with the game. But, you know, I have somewhat of a reputation for like getting to like the first half of the game, like stage 4, and then getting game over, not even being able to get to further ones. There's just certain games that they ramp up the difficulty in like stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and it's like, well, if stage 3 is this difficult out of 15, then I don't even want to know what stage 15, 14, 13 would kind of be like. Just questioning whether or not the final boss in this game is going to be like that, but it's just kind of the concept. I mean, it's the same thing with the Bouncer. I'm eventually going to throw that game up on this particular channel, maybe sooner than expected, but I just look after it. I remember when I played the Bouncer, I was able to defeat that whole game with the exception of the final boss until like a few years ago. I think I threw that up on my music channel. As far as that pitch can win, that was one of the few game things I had on that particular channel at the time, but I did briefly show that because I had been playing that game since like 2014, 2015, and I only had that last boss fight and I finally got to. That's just, I don't know, it's just part of my mechanics is like playing through video games. Same thing would happen with Guitar Hero. Like I hadn't played that. This is another 2022 episode here, just to say that. I have one more after this, so episode 14. Will be more 2022 footage, and then like we'll start getting some new stuff. But basically the concept was with Guitar Hero, I basically just not necessarily rage quit, but just said screw that game in particular, just because it was just kind of the concept in terms of a plateau at that particular time for that game. I just didn't want to tackle it with that pitch, and it just kind of makes me question whether or not I'm going to have a plateau similar to that one with this particular game. So I just took a break entirely from Acid Wired back in 2022. But then all of the games from that particular year pissed me off. It was the same thing with Rise to Honor. I don't recall if I had this problem with Devil May Cry, but these games, just the difficulty setting just ramped up, and it's like, hey, this is what you have to do to keep the videos going. Because the thing about Acid Wired that's different from my music channel is just the fact that the thing about it is you have to be able to beat these games in order to add more footage to it, and that's just kind of the concept. I feel like, yeah, there could be some monotony videos, which I do occasionally do just to kind of showcase the same stage being fought even when you lose at it, but even those kind of get tiresome eventually. This is kind of the concept, just enough kind of just messing with the game, trying to say, alright, now it's time to beat the game, but the problem with it is just the concept whether or not that's going to happen, so I just kind of have to be the thing with that. But I mean, for what it is, I am like, one thing I am thinking about doing soon enough is just throwing some more games on the channel, just having more than 3 games I'm tackling at the same time, because I just kind of feel like within the concept I just don't want it to be, you know, 2030, 2029 before I get to like my 4th and 5th game on the channel. The rate that I'm doing these games is just far too sluggish. So I just feel like if I just have like at least 5 or 6 episodes of like 9 or 10 games, at least being able to say that's some content just being able to do, and it just would kind of give more pet projects to at least attempt over here. So I just feel like there's enough content on this particular channel, but it's still relatively minimal. I just feel like the variety on this particular channel is not nearly as large. I feel like there are some more PS2 games I'd like to get to, and those will probably pop up throughout the fall as far as that particular kind of happens. I just have to get into some more of these. But I probably will not tackle Devil May Cry 2 until after this particular game. Suppose it doesn't give me a vast amount of problems, but yes, it's going to be music related type stuff this would have to say. So I think this was a boss character, just being able to say this within the concept of it. I do want to say I was actually able to complete this particular boss, but it's just kind of, yeah. I mean, the excellence of this game is really there. I mean, this is just like a game like Castlevania or something like that. It's being able to say one of those type ones, the same haunting typeness that kind of goes along with this. It's some excellent type stuff. It's just, you have to remember that it's not really a movie as much as it is like a video game. And this is a great game to watch just within that concept, but, you know, for the person that has to do the driving in this game and the navigation as far as that pitch kind of goes, it's just kind of, it's like, oh yeah, this is some tussle, and this is kind of some elbow grease that will piss you off a little bit, which is kind of the concept, but it is a brilliant game. So, yeah. I do like the character design on this particular thing. I think this little Hellbird type thing, whatever the hell this thing is pretty dope. This is the concept kind of it. The concept there. But so yeah, I bought a Marilyn Manson CD the other day. It's gonna be coming in the mail soon enough. I had to get some more Marilyn Manson. I have a number of his projects, but the thing, I need to start completing like more discographies, because I feel like the thing about the Marilyn Manson album, the one I bought was the Pale Emperor. And I look after that one, they were trying to charge like $55 for that one. I don't understand why that would be. I mean, the concept of it, you know, the album only has 10 songs on it, so I just question. I realize that Marilyn Manson isn't really dropping new music anymore, but I just don't understand why a 10-song album would wind up costing, I don't know if it's I think it is costing, say English, but I think costing like $55. Some folks are trying to charge more than that. Just going on eBay or Amazon, some of those type of places, so like, you know, I'm not going to pay $80 for, you know, and it's not like it's not like Marilyn Manson's not worth it to do it for that sake, but I feel like the concept somewhere out there has to be a spot that's selling it for like 15 or 13. I mean, I feel like this is the absurdity behind it is just not rational, I'd have to suppose. But then eBay's been kind of doing that. I feel like, you know, Amazon back in the day used to be able to get albums for a penny. Like, that's how much I got Antichrist Superstar. I remember paying $3.99 for shipping, and then they charged a penny for like Antichrist Superstar. And I want to say it was the same thing with Hollywood back in 2016. Buying CDs back in those days, I just don't like the ship shapedness that's kind of happened with like online purchases, because it used to be a lot better. All those post-grunge 2000s albums, Nickelback, some of those type folks, Three Doors Down, Stained, Rob Zombie, Pitches like that, all of those are pretty much underneath the nickel in terms of the price back on Amazon back in those days. But I just would have to say, I mean, I did have to pay the $3.99 shipping, but apart from that, $4 and a penny is really not that bad a deal for 12 songs, and especially when some of those were hit number ones on like the rock charts as far as that particularly went along with it. But nowadays, these taxes on here are just ridiculous, and even Amazon is just becoming a really poor place to buy music anymore. I mean, just 2 or 3 years ago, but I just don't know if it's gotten to Amazon's head or something, but you know, that's the typical kind of baby boomer complaint, is just talking about how those type of folks, older Gen X's and baby boomers, tend to hate when folks buy too much stuff off Amazon because they think it takes away from like the brick and mortar kind of marketplaces. But I just look after it. At least you don't have to deal with like cute and kind of snarky kind of people when you go out and buy things on Amazon. It's just kind of the concept that you just look after. It's just an easier kind of concept. That's the reason why I do it. It's just not having to deal with the curtness of just, I mean, social affability is one thing within the concept. When you actually click with someone and you have something in common. Most of the people I get that check me out don't look like they're fans of Rob Zombie and pitches like that. It doesn't have that affability of having someone you click with. But that's just the situation about it. But yeah, they should be a lot cheaper. I just look within that aspect. But yeah, stay tuned for the next one, folks. There's a little bit more 2022 footage, just what I had to say amongst that particular concept. So subscribe for more fun. Have a wonderful night.